are listening live to Marvelous Monday here on 1-2 Radio. As always, sorry, Facebook Live paused me. I had to start over. I am live with you in two ways in the chat room. So I am live on Facebook Live as well as on the radio itself. So I invite you to join me there by going to 12radio.com and clicking on the chat button. That takes you right to our chat page, which is a Facebook group. If you haven't joined it before, just ask, and my producer Scott will let you right in the door, although I'm sure that you, almost all of you, are already members. But it's kind of funny because just when I think, man, this chat group is huge, it gets even bigger, and there are new people joining it every day. And so it's really important that, we share that information. So if you're brand new, I don't want you to feel left out. If you do have a question or a comment for me, please post it on the pinned post at the top of the page. That is where my producer, Scott, has posted my banner. That really helps me with keeping track of your comments. The comments on the chat roll up, or on the video, they roll up. And so I have to scroll through the video, and, I'm a pretty good multitasker. However, it gets to be a little intense on the radio when you're the one who's live. So, if you can, help me out and post on the pinned post if you have a question. Of course, I'd love to see you say hi and know that you're all here with me on the video itself. So it's just great to be here with all of you. As you know, I have been addressing perspective throughout the month of February. And we're going to finish that up today. And so I want to share just a few things with you regarding that. And then we're going to move into some what I call empath training, because I feel like we need it. I want to talk a little bit about how being an empath kind of messes with our perspective. It messes with the way that we see the world. It messes with the way that we see ourselves and other people. And there are some things that we can do to change that, because ultimately we have to stay connected to ourselves. We have to stay connected to our own emotions, because that's what we're truly responsible for. And we have to get out of that place of feeling like we have to handle those things for other people. That's where boundaries become very important in correcting our perspective when we're an empath. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, if you're listening to the show today, you're an empath. That's why you're here. That's why you're at 1-2 Radio. That's why you're a part of this community, is because you recognize that in yourself, and you recognize the challenges that it brings to you. You also have this drive to make the world a better place. You have this drive to help other people, to heal other people, which is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing about all of you who are here. But it also means that you struggle with those boundaries, and sometimes your perspective gets clouded by what you feel from other people. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the article that I wrote for the Power Peak this week, which is about perspective and boundaries. So as an empath, it used to be a real challenge for me, and I'm not going to say it isn't still, because in ways it is. But I have worked on that a lot and continue to work on it a lot. But growing up, it was a real challenge for me to understand where my emotions and experiences ended and someone else's began. I didn't grow up in metaphysical spirituality. I did not grow up knowing what it meant to be an empath. That is not a word that was in my vocabulary as a kid or even as a teenager. That's something I learned about as a young adult. And so I was an empath, and it was just, punching me in the face every day, and I didn't know why. I truly didn't understand what that meant. And so I struggled with a lot of challenges growing up. I felt a lot of pain from other people. I am a kinetic empath. That means that I feel what's going on in a person's energy body and emotional body, and sometimes even physical body, in my physical body. So lots and lots of stuff manifests in me as various kinds of pain. I feel a lot of pain that isn't actually mine. It's someone else's. So I was unaware of that. I didn't know what it meant to be an empath. All I knew is that there were certain people that were very painful for me to be around. At the same time that I was feeling pain for them, I was also feeling a deep sense of empathy for them. So it didn't mean that I just walked away from them. I didn't. I got way too involved in other people's issues and other people's problems. I wanted to solve it all and fix it all because I felt it. So of course I wanted to do something about it. There were some people and situations that I had to avoid because they were just truly unbearable. That was very hard for me. And I remember the emotion of embarrassment was unbearable for me as a kid. Not my own embarrassment, other people's. If somebody else was embarrassed, that happens all the time in school, right? Growing up, we all get embarrassed. I remember elementary school, somebody falls down in the snow or in the mud. Somebody threw up in class, stuff like that could happen. And it was intensely embarrassing for a person. That was unbelievably painful for me. I didn't understand why at the time, but that was something I had to get out of immediately. And so what I would usually do is I would step in and solve it in some way or attempt to solve it, right? So I would, step in and say, oh, it's okay. That happened to me too. Or, I would do something, anything to alleviate that feeling of embarrassment because it was so painful for me to be around. And I don't mean to sound selfish about it. I certainly didn't want people to be in pain like that. I definitely didn't. But I also didn't want to be in pain like that myself. But I did not understand what that meant. So I stepped into all kinds of situations. I was the person who beat up the bully, seriously, in elementary school. I did stuff like that. I would step right in the middle of fights. I put myself at risk a lot of times. I look back and realize that, I risked getting myself beat up to stop painful situations for other people for a couple of reasons. One, because I felt this strong sense of empathy and wanted to change it for that person. And also because I didn't want to be in that kind of pain myself. When I was in high school, I had a lot of trouble with anger. I was angry all the time. I lashed out a lot. And I didn't really know why. It wasn't like I had something I was really angry about. I feel like I was responding to, my own teenage angst, because we all had it, amplified by that of everybody that I was around. And I really struggled with that and worked a lot on my emotional reactions because I would react too strongly to things because I felt them so acutely. And it was weird how after I graduated from high school and moved on out of that situation, that anger just dissipated for me. I just didn't really have it anymore. And that's because it wasn't really mine to begin with. Not that I knew that at the time. Now, I remember the first time that I learned about empaths because it was an absolutely life-changing experience. It was the biggest light bulb moment of my life and I was in my early 20s. And when I learned about this and realized that I was not the only person that felt this way. When I was a kid, I would be scrolling through TV channels, and if there was something on the TV that was too emotionally painful, I couldn't watch it. It physically took me down. I had no idea that there were other people out in the world that felt that way. And so when I started learning about empaths and what it meant to be an empath and different kinds of empaths and understanding myself, that was a life-changing experience for me. Suddenly, so many things made sense. Suddenly, so many things came together in a way that I didn't really know they could. And from there, it's given me an opportunity to really learn and understand what happens to me. And over the years of learning about what happens to me, I've developed some skills that now I'd like to share with you. So, as you know, being an empath gives you a unique experience because it gives you a different perspective on the human race. You see people differently as an empath than someone who isn't so much an empath, right? Because you see the good in everybody. You can see it or feel it or however you experience it. You know it's there. Even in people that have done terrible things, you can feel the good in them, right? You have a clearer understanding. Your perspective in some ways is clearer because you know what it feels like, at least a little tiny bit, to be somebody else. So in a way, that's a good thing for perspective. But then it gets all mixed up with your own emotions, right? And you can't always tell the difference between you and somebody else. And that's where we kind of have to start with some skills training, right? And I'm sure many of you have done some of the skills training already. Some of you have done it with me. But I felt like this would be an important topic to address. Again, because I think it's one that we need to come back to over and over again. I know for me, I have periods of time where I do better than others. You know, sometimes I feel like my boundaries are really good, that I'm recognizing clearly, oh, this isn't mine. Okay, I don't have to react to it. I don't have to do anything with it. I don't have to take it on. And other times I don't do as well. There are certain people in my life that I do better with boundaries-wise versus people that I don't do as well with boundaries-wise, right? You're the same, I'm sure. And so talking about it and remembering to use some skills regularly is important. Because being an empath is a part of who you are. It's like me having brown eyes, right? You're born with it. It's not going to go away. You're going to have it for the rest of your life. And so learning to understand it and use it and developing the skills that are necessary are really, really important, because this is a lifelong experience. And I've had empaths come to me and say, can you take this away from me? I hate it. It makes me miserable. I don't want to do it anymore. I've been in that place before. You probably have been too. And so part of it is understanding how to use it in a positive way, how to have some control over it so that it feels like a gift and not a curse, right? So that's where I want to go with all of this today. And I want you to think about how being an empath affects your perspective. How does it affect the way that you view yourself and your life? How does it affect the way that you view other people and their lives? I think there are pros and cons. I think that there are good things about it. I think there's some good things about how it affects our perspective. And then I think there are some things that are like totally screw us up, right? So I think we're going to work on all of that today. So I want to start with a meditation that I wrote last year. And this meditation is available for free download on my website, and I want to encourage all of you to go get it if you don't already have it. This is an important skill to have as an empath, and this is called Clear Your Bubble. So Scott, if you would just cue up the meditation music for us. And all of you listening, please close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Allow your body to settle and your mind to go quiet. Now, bring your attention to your bubble, the energy that emanates out from your body to your arm's length. That is your bubble. Take a moment to observe what is swirling around inside your bubble. What should be in there is your energy and your energy alone. This is our personal space. This is our energetic space. But is there energy in there belonging to other people? Take a moment and identify it. Feel it, look at it. What's in your bubble? Is it yours? Is it somebody else's? What's in there? Is there energy here that's lowering your vibration, causing anxiety and emotional upset? Do you have energy in your bubble that is affecting how you feel in a negative way? Chances are you do, because as an empath, we're all kind of a big sponge. That's what our energy bodies do. We sponge up other people's energy. It's really how we feel what they feel. But we got to wring out the sponge sometimes, don't we? So let's clear our bubbles. So now, in your mind's eye, screw a garden hose to the outside of your bubble. And then imagine a vortex of white light open up in the earth next to you. Drop the end of the garden hose into the vortex of light. And now watch as all the energy in your bubble that does not belong to you drains out through the hose into the vortex of white light. And this energy will be transmuted into love and released from you forever. So let's just give it a moment to drain all of that energy away from you that doesn't belong to you. Okay. And once your bubble is empty and you feel it empty, unscrew the garden hose from your bubble. Now you'll note that this barrier or this bubble around you is empty. In order to really strengthen your energy body, in order to strengthen that boundary of your energy, between your energy and other people's, that space that you need that is your personal space, you want to fill that energy up. You want to fill that space up. So now we're going to draw our attention to our heart chakras. Take a moment and ask, what colors do you see and feel in your heart? It can be anything. It doesn't matter if it's the prescribed colors of the heart chakra or not. Any colors here are fine. And now push your heart chakra energy out and fill your bubble. Fill that bubble up with this energy from your heart chakra. Filling your bubble with your own energy. Creating a sacred space of peace and protection for you. Giving a clear boundary between you and everybody else. So just take a moment. Fill that bubble up with your heart chakra energy. And now, when you feel your bubble full of your own energy, take 3 deep breaths. And open your eyes. So this is a significant part of empath training. Knowing how to release yourself from the energy that you're carrying that belongs to other people. This is really emotional energy. So your bubble, that should be a barrier, it should be a boundary. That's what it's meant to be. But for empaths, we have a tendency to, instead of having a boundary, we have a sponge. And so we're sucking in other people's emotional energy. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is how we are empathetic to other people. It is how we understand how they feel. It is how we understand what matters to other people. You know, it's how we help people, right? That feeling of their energy, by drawing it in, we can interpret it and understand it. The problem is when we start carrying it around with us and identifying it as our own. And this happens to all empaths, regardless of what kind of empath you are. This happens to all of us. We pick up other people's emotional energy. If we don't release it from us, then we begin to feel like it's our own. And so then we begin to react like these emotions belong to me, like this energy is mine. These are my problems to solve. I feel overwhelmed. I feel anxious. I feel frustrated. I feel depressed about other people's energy. A good friend of mine who is a powerful empath and who has struggled very much on her path over the years called me one day, very, very upset, told me she was going to kill herself. She was driving around really seriously thinking of suicide. I talked to her on the phone for about 3 hours. And what she just kept reiterating over and over and over again were the problems of all of the people in her life that she cared about. Everybody in her life was in turmoil. Her friends, her family were all struggling. And I said, okay, I get that. What's going wrong in your life that makes you want to, end it? And she couldn't think of a single thing. And that was a very powerful experience for me in understanding empaths. She was so full of other people's emotions, other people's problems and fears, that she was ready to kill herself over all those problems, and they weren't even her problems. And when we could have a conversation that got a little bit rational for a few minutes about why would you kill yourself over other people's problems, it shifted everything for her. And she took that step that we all have to take as empaths. And this is the very first step. Every time I work with anybody who's starting an empath training with me, or, saying that they're feeling really hurt or frustrated by all the energy they're carrying around, the first thing that we have to do is we have to start asking the question, is this mine or is this somebody else's? And making a conscious effort to identify that energy that you feel, those emotions that you feel. Do they belong to me? Or am I carrying around somebody else's stuff? This is really, really important. And for a lot of people who are new to understanding themselves as an empath, may never have considered that question. But that's where we have to begin. And we have to ask that question over and over and over again. It's a practice we have to continue as empaths every day for the rest of our lives. Is this mine? Because if the answer is no, then you have to let it go. And maybe you need to drain your bubble. Maybe you need to clear your bubble. But you need to bring to your conscious awareness that you can actually feel emotions that don't belong to you. That is a gift that you have, or maybe a curse that you have, however you see it. But it is something that you have to identify and understand. You have to become aware of the fact that not everything that you're feeling belongs to you. And when you can identify that and really get clear about it, it can make things so much easier. I've noticed that this is a problem, especially for people who work in some kind of office environment or other kind of work environment where they work around a lot of other people. There are all kinds of emotions swirling around in that place. You can easily pick up somebody else's anger, frustration, anxiety, hurt, sadness, grief. You can pick that up easily, right? So what I was doing when I was in high school, I was picking up everybody else's anger, and it was developing into this big ball of anger inside of me that I didn't understand. Mary on the video says, it's difficult to know if it's mine or someone else's. When I'm unsure, I ask, is there anything in my immediate life that supports this feeling? Right. Next step, give yourself a reality check. You ask, is this mine or not? And then you ask yourself, am I okay? Is everything okay? Literally take a moment to look around you physically. Are you safe? Is everything okay in your current environment? And then take stock of your relationships, your job, your situation. Is there anything going on in your life that could be causing these emotions? Okay? That's the next step to identifying, is this mine or is this someone else's? So thank you, Mary. You're ahead of me. But that's wonderful. But you have to give yourself a reality check and recognize that, wait a minute, I'm okay. And that's what my friend, my suicidal friend, had not done. She had not asked herself, is this me or not? She had not then given herself a reality check. And so we talked through it, and by the end of the conversation, she was okay. She had decided that it was okay to live again because her life was actually fine. Her job was going well. There were several things. She listed off a whole list of things that were going well in her life that she was happy about. And I remember kind of laughing on the phone and saying, well, then why would you want to end your life? Everything's going well. And that's when the light bulb went on. That her bubble was so full of other people's energy that she couldn't even identify that it wasn't hers anymore. So we talked through it. So that is definitely a next big step, is giving yourself a reality check. Am I okay? Asking yourself some very literal and realistic questions. Am I okay? Am I safe? Maybe you're having a panic attack. And I'm not saying that this is the only cause of panic attacks, but I think it is one significant cause of panic attacks, is being an empath, picking up other people's energy. You're panicking about something that doesn't belong to you. And that's why it doesn't make any sense. You have these giant anxiety attacks that aren't connected to anything, And maybe you have anxiety that is connected to something, and I don't mean to minimize that. But if you do have anxiety attacks that don't have any connection to something going on in your life, it's a really important time to ask yourself this question, is this mine? And if it is not, push it out of your bubble. So a little skill that I teach empaths, especially this works great if you work in an office or if you're in school with a lot of people. So maybe you're just hit in the moment with something and you identify that, no, this in fact is not mine. It is okay to push it out. Do it physically, but in your mind's eye, you are removing that energy. So you can give it a color. You can give it some kind of quality that you identify that this energy, here's this dark greenish brown, yucky, low vibrating, emotional pain energy inside of my energy body that doesn't belong to me. So reach out with your hand and push it out of your bubble. Push it back. Send it back to the person that it belongs to. You don't have to take it on. It's okay to support other people and empathize and be there for them in all kinds of ways. But you don't actually have to take on their pain. It doesn't mean that they're not feeling it. It just means now two people are. It's okay to push it out of your bubble and send it back and say, this doesn't belong to me. You can't solve it. We all know this. We know this consciously. We know this rationally. But when it comes down to in the moment, we don't always see it in that rational way, right? But we know that we really cannot solve anybody else's problems for them. They have to do that, right? We can love them, we can support them, we can empathize, we can share ideas, we can be present for people that we love. But when it comes right down to it, can you solve their problem for them? Can you do it for them? No. It's like my friend. I could not solve her problem for her. Now, I could get her thinking and get her, to a place of recognizing that this is not me. But ultimately, could I solve the problem of I'm going to kill myself because I feel so bad because other people feel bad? No, she had to identify it. She had to figure a way to clear it from herself. She had to do those things. I could give suggestions and support and be present for her. But when it came right down to it, I couldn't fix the problem for her. She had to do that for herself, right? That is a very valuable lesson and a significant part of understanding perspective when it comes to being an empath. We have to give those problems back, don't we? We have to hand those things back to people. Taking them on ourselves doesn't solve anything. Oh, Lillian says this is the first time she's seen me in real time watching the video. She said there's always been a delay. Oh, interesting. Well, it may be that you just need to turn off the player so you're only listening to the audio on the video and not on the player. They don't always sync up. But I'm glad that you are resonating with what we're talking about, and I'm glad you can see me today. I'm really enjoying doing video, and you're going to see some new things with video for me coming up. I'm going to talk about that here in a little while. But I want to get into the chat room and check out your questions and comments. I know there are quite a few, so... Oh, Lillian says it's perfect now, so we're synced up. Well, I had a huge Android update on my phone, so maybe it fixed something. You never know. Let's see. I just want to get into the chat and see what you all have to say about this topic. I hope this is resonating with you. This is definitely a daily practice topic for me. Being a kinetic empath means that I can be in a ton of pain over other people's stuff. Lillian says, yeah, it was my fault. It probably wasn't. You're right. In order to manage that, in order to be dealing with only the pain that belongs to me, I really have to work on these particular issues regularly. That's why I've developed the things that I'm talking about today. And want to share them with you, because this is something that I've been working on. Really, I've been working on empath skills for about 20 years. I've been teaching them for about 10, but working on them for myself for much longer than that. So I want to talk about some other things that can be helpful. Let's see, but I want to get to some questions in the chat. Melissa says, I was always told I was just too sensitive growing up. Oh boy, haven't we all heard this? I thought there was something wrong with me until I learned I was an empath. Yes, right? Me too, okay? I'm just too emotional. I'm just too sensitive. I just take things too personally, right? We've all heard that. Sally says, this does resonate with me, and I have spent many, many hours, days, weeks in pain because of others' issues. Yes. Yes. So there is so much that we can do about it when we understand it, isn't there? Okay, let's see. I wanted to... Oh, Terry says, to this day I can't watch The Green Mile. Ah, that movie's too painful for you. Yeah, that movie is very painful for me as well. I get that. I totally get that. I have to be really careful. I don't like sad, sort of sappy movies. I don't like movies about people who are dying from cancer and different things like that. I don't watch those movies. I don't want to. I feel the emotions. Even though they're acting, I still feel those emotions so acutely that it is not worth it to me. Okay, let's see here. Christine does this meditation every night. Mary says she does it every day too. That's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that, because it means a lot to me to get these things out and share them with you. I know how difficult it was for me. I know how unlikely it was for me to know anything about it until I really started paying attention to understanding what an empath was and really learning about it and having access to that information. I never knew before that anything that I could do that would help. Let's see. Lillian says, wow, I felt like that. Empathy is strong. I used to feel everyone's pain. It's difficult to tune out. It is difficult to tune out. But one of the things that I've found is if you can keep your bubble clear and you can keep that bubble full of your energy, it goes from that pain being here to that pain being out here. There's a difference, right? When it's not right on top of you, when it's out there on beyond the boundary of that bubble, you can feel it and understand it. You can use it to support other people, but you don't have to be miserable because of it. You can observe it without directly experiencing it. So that's really what I'm talking about, is ways to do that. I want to share with you the necklace that I'm wearing. So if you're watching the video, if you're not, I'll post a video or a picture of it in the chat after the show. But this is a piece. I'm going to lean up so hopefully you guys can see this. This is a Vogel cut Star of David crystal. This is something that I wear that helps me very much as an empath. When it's turned the way that it is right now, it's open. That means my energy body is open. I'm receiving information. You know, I'm exchanging back and forth, because of course when I'm on the air with you guys, that's what I want to be doing, right? When I'm in a situation where I really just need radio silence, right? When I need space, I wear it backwards. When you turn it around and wear it backwards, it's cut. The cut of this stone is meant to impact your energy body directly. So I wear it backwards when I'm in very large places where my focus is not on empathy of other people. Airports, for example. Airports are a really painful place for me. People are angry and frustrated and stressed. The pressure that builds up inside of that builds up inside of me from the energy in an airport is really, really painful. So if I ever am going to fly, I wear this necklace and I wear it in reverse. And I feel like I'm in this little bubble. I feel like I'm in a little phone booth of silence. I don't feel all that energy. Now I can look out on the world and look at people and observe their frustrated faces. And, you know, I can tell that there are people out there that are struggling. But am I feeling all of it and picking it all up? No. It gives me a break from all of it to wear this. And so I do wear that. This one is rutilated quartz with, I have forgotten the name of the stone on top. I will think of it at some point, but I can't think of it at this moment. But it is, it doesn't matter what stone you wear. It is the cut itself. So look for Vogel cut Star of David necklaces. They're fairly expensive. I probably spent over $100 on this, and I don't usually spend a lot of money on my jewelry because I like just regular stone jewelry, you know. But this one was worth it to me. But something like that, something that is meant to be protective of your energy body, so that you can have periods of your life where, you know what, if you just want to go to the dang grocery store without having to feel everybody's stuff all around you, try something like this. Try something like a Vogel cut Star of David. That is a helpful little piece of jewelry to wear. Now, I clear it, I bless it, I ask it to, support me, give me space, give me energetic space. I do all of those things with it. So I wear it, but I also give it some direction because it helps me a lot to have space from other people's energy in certain situations. I'm not reading people everywhere I go. Why would I want to do that? Why would anybody want to do that, right? I want to go to the doctor or the post office or the grocery store without having to be impacted by everybody else's emotional energy. Now, certainly when I'm working the lines at 1-2-Listen, or I'm doing a phone reading, or I'm doing an email reading, or I'm here on the radio, of course, everything's wide open because that's when I want to feel it. That's where I've gotten to as an empath, is that I have some control over when I have it and when I don't. Doesn't mean that the gift is ever gone, right? It's always there. But the level of intensity that I feel changes, and that's what empath training can do. I want you to know that I do this one-on-one. If you want to call me at 1-2-Listen, even if you want to do, a one-question reading through email readings, however you want to do that, I can train you specifically. It very much helps to talk to you about the kinds of things that you're experiencing, because there are all different kinds of empaths. And so I work with an empath right now who needs to use mirrors to reflect energy back to people away from this person. It's a little bit different kind of visualization than I use for myself, but it works for them. So there are all different kinds of things that I can train you to do. So I wanted you to know that obviously I'm sharing some of those things with you here on the air today, but that isn't the end of the story. There are lots more skills that are more specific to you, because there are different kinds of empaths. Maybe you pick up on people's physical ailments. Maybe you pick up everybody's headache or stomach ache everywhere you go. I know people like that. Well, there are specific skills that you can use to let go of that. Maybe you take on other people's emotions so much that you have trouble having your own identity. There are empaths out there that just are sort of chameleons, and they become whoever they're with because they have such a difficult time having a boundary between themselves and other people that they just sort of become whoever they're around. I've worked with people who struggle with that before. There are all different kinds of ways that being an empath can impact your life. But you can learn to control it. You can learn to use it as a gift and be able to turn it off and on, basically. To have space from it when you need it, and then open yourself up to it when you're ready to use it again. So I want you to know that. And so I want to make sure that you understand that that's something that I can help you with further. So what I'm talking about here on the air are pretty general skills, but there are much more specific skills based on you, based on what you're doing. So reach out to me if you want to know more about that. I want to get to a few more questions here in the chat, and then I want to share with you a couple of fun things that I am doing and that I have coming up. Let's see. Judith says, I feel like I've inherited the traumas of the First and Second World Wars, my parents' lives, and all the immense sadness and sick and insane behaviors that came out of those wars. I also feel like I have to heal myself of the ancestral lineage. Okay, really interesting, because you have a combination of things going on, Judith. You are an empath. You've picked up a lot, but what's happened, and this does happen a lot for us as empaths, when we hear about other people's trauma, sometimes we literally experience it ourselves. And so you begin to carry around trauma that wasn't yours to begin with. So it's like you have trauma cords to an experience you never had. That's really hard because you have no way of processing it because you weren't there. You didn't actually experience it. So I want to encourage you, Judith, that we could work together on that because it's a two-part issue. This is a trauma issue and an empath issue, but it is something that we can do. There are lots of things that we can do to make that better. Mary Jo says, this is truly me. It is difficult to turn off or realize what I am sponging up, right? It's so unconscious. That's why we need the skills to bring it to the conscious mind. Do I also feel their physical pain? Do you see that? I think that you do. I think that you do. I think that you know that already. It's okay to trust it. I know for a lot of us, we've been discounted for a long time, and so we aren't sure, is this real or not? If you feel it, Mary Jo, then it's real, okay? But there are things that we can do to work on that. But definitely, one of the reasons that you have to ask yourself, is this mine or is this someone else's, and do the reality check, is you're bringing this into your conscious awareness. You're bringing this into your mind, into your thought processes, that this is actually happening, that this is actually real. That's really, really important, so that we don't just do it automatically without thinking, Mary Jo, like you said, because you don't even realize you're doing it. That's why we have to have those reality checks and those asking ourselves the questions, so that we become consciously aware of the fact that we do it to begin with. Okay, let's see. I wanted to get to a few more of your questions and comments in the chat. Yeah, Judith, PTSD, first thing to ask, am I safe right here, right now? Right. Yeah. You have to remind yourself, I'm okay. Everything is okay in this moment. Chris says, I started having unexplained panic attacks 4 months prior to the discovery of my father's brain tumor. Yeah. Yeah. You were picking up on something that was going on in him before he even knew. But his physical body knew, his soul knew, his spirit knew. Mary Jo wants to know, is the physical pain the same as theirs or is mine different? I think that you experience, I feel like you have a couple of areas that may be areas of weakness in your body, or areas that you tend to have more trouble, Mary Jo, and so you feel pain there. So it doesn't always match where someone else feels it. It doesn't mean that it isn't legitimate. It just means that you might be having a headache or a stomach ache when they actually have knee pain, and that's normal. That's very normal. It doesn't mean that it's a straight across, feel it exactly the same. Some empaths do that, but lots don't. Pamela says, that is so hard for me to tell if it is mine or someone else's. It takes practice. It is a skill that we didn't develop because we started doing this as very young children, right? We were born with this. We started developing, our habits before we ever realized that we did, Pamela. And that's why it takes practice to develop skills to ask those questions and identify emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain that doesn't belong to us. But that's why clearing the bubble is also important, because we're still going to do it to some extent. You're never going to stop all of it. None of us will. And you don't always have to identify it. Sometimes you just need to, at the end of the day, when you've been around a lot of people, clear your bubble. Does it matter what's in there? It really doesn't. All that matters is that we release it, because if it doesn't belong to you, you can't process it. You may as well just let it go and realize that you can't solve it for another person, so it's okay to let go of it. That is an issue that I have seen many times in training empaths, is that they feel disloyal. Well, I can't just give this back. It's like I don't care. No, it isn't. It's not like you don't care. You do care. You always care. But the point is not that you don't care. The point is that you can't solve this for the other person, and it puts you in pain. And so that's okay to choose you. That's okay to set that boundary. You can still love someone. You can still empathize and support without feeling their pain. Think about it for a minute. Do you actually have to feel it to support them? You actually don't. You can understand without being in the pain as well. Okay? Let's see. Chris says, no, sorry. Marina says, sorry, Facebook's jumping on me just a little bit. Scents tend to knock me out. Working through a reaction to jasmine right now. May I have some healing energy? Oh, interesting. Marina, I'm curious about that. What that might mean for a past life experience. If there are certain scents that really get to you, I would ask yourself that question. But I would also clear your bubble. Scents, there's a very emotional component to scents. And so you may have connected with something that comes from someone else about that sense. So look at it from an empath standpoint. Look at it from the topic that we are on today and see how that might be related, because I think it is. Okay, let's see. Get to a few more of you, and then I want to share. I've got some fun things coming up I want to share with you. Let's see. Handy says, hello, Kristi. This weekend, my cousin and I had a big argument from past issues. The whole weekend I felt angry, sad, and just uncomfortable. I tried the meditation. It helped a little. Any clearing you can do for us? Perhaps cut strings. Right. The issues are like 10 years old, back and forth. So draining. So yeah, so this is definitely an empath issue, and that you took on a bunch of emotional energy, some of it not yours, but you also courted to one another. And this, another area that becomes so confusing for us empaths is that when you make an energetic connection to somebody else, and in a situation like this, it comes from emotionally charged thoughts. Our thoughts control our energy bodies. So when you have a big blowout with somebody, you may be firing arrows back and forth at each other that connect you to each other. It's another way that we feel other people's emotional energy. It's another way that we feel things inside of us that don't belong to us, okay? So I do feel like you have, let's see, Handy, you definitely have a throat chakra attachment, a heart, and a solar plexus. So I feel like you and your cousin have connected up in several ways that's keeping these emotions going. So let's just pull those cords. I'm just going to release those, and we're going to heal them and then send them back so that there's a separation between the two of you. It is a sort of like a little wall of bulletproof glass between the two of you for a while, so that you can have space from one another, so that you can get back to a place of thinking clearly about your own emotions and not reacting to somebody else's, okay? Thank you for that question. So I did want to share, I've got a few stones sitting here with me. All stones are helpful for empaths. It's about what stones make you feel grounded, because being grounded is a big issue for empaths. We get so stuck in our emotions and our thoughts. We get so much energy inside of us that we have a tendency to not ground. So for me, I like black tourmaline. This is my black tourmaline for grounding. That's a helpful stone. Then I like stones that are protective as well, because they help me to build that bubble, that boundary that I need. So for that, I like tiger's eye. So this is a little tiger's eye palm stone that I use. It has some hematite in it too. So I love that little piece for some protection. And then I find that heart chakra stones are important for empaths, because we need to heal our own hearts. We need to focus on ourselves and our own needs and what's going on in there for us. And so I have a few heart stones sitting here. This is some ocean jasper, one of my favorite heart stones. This is some pink Botswana agate, really awesome heart stone. And then, of course, mangano calcite, which is my favorite stone for self-love. So those are some great ones. And then another one that I have regularly with me is just a clear quartz point, because this stone brings clarity. This stone really does help us to understand what's going on inside of us when we need some clarity. And so I love to have a nice little quartz point with me. Mary says, I feel that when I absorb their negative energy, then they seem to be relieved of it and feel better. So to give it back isn't something I can do. I would feel bad, but to release it for them and teach them how. Okay, so what is happening here is that it's kind of you're doing some sort of spontaneous energy healing is what you're doing. So you're helping them to release some energy, but rather than that energy being transmuted, you are taking it on. So that's definitely not healthy for you. I hope, Mary, that you can train in an energy healing modality if you haven't already, because you need to do that. But here's something that you can think about. When you take that energy, first of all, when you clear your bubble, that energy is transmuted into love. And so it doesn't go back to the other person. It is simply released. You can do the same thing. If you feel some emotional energy inside of you or physical energy inside of you that isn't your own, you can gather it all up in a ball and open up a vortex of white light in the earth. This is a sort of like a transmutation station. This is a place that you throw things that you want to transmute into love or that you want to transmute into light in order to release them. So if you feel a lot of something from another person, you can gather it up inside your energy body and throw it into the vortex of white light. That will transmute it into love. But I will tell you that ultimately their issues are still their issues. Even if they feel a little relief in the moment, it is simply just a releasing of that energy from themselves for a short time. It is not a long-term solution. It is still theirs to solve. So remember that, but use the concept of the vortex of white light to transmute that energy, and really consider getting trained in some energy healing, okay? That would help you a lot. Okay, so I want to share several things that I have coming up. The first thing is I have a class tonight at 1-2 Academy. That is my advanced healer training for anxiety and depression. So I'm starting in an advanced healer training group. This is for anybody who's taken any kind of energy healing modality. If you've studied with me or if you've studied with anybody else, you have some basic energy healing skills. I want to teach an advanced group that gives you the opportunity to get very focused on specific skills for specific issues. And so tonight is my first one, and this one is on anxiety and depression. So if you have just some basic energy healing skills, you can come to this class and we will use those basic skills to get some specific skills about helping yourself or someone else, because you can use this on yourself, you can use it on somebody else, you can use it by distance or in person, to release anxiety and depression. So we're going to talk about where is that sitting in the body, where is it sitting in the energy body, and what do we do with it. So we're going to get some specific and focused skills going. So I want to share that with you. I'm excited about getting started with this. I've had some people ask me for it, and I haven't really taught advanced skills before. So this is my first time sharing some of the things that I do, and so I'm excited to share that with you. Now, the other class that I have this week, it's not really a class, but it's a group. I have my monthly Kindred Spirits channeling on Saturday morning over at 1-2 Academy. So this is a group where everyone who attends the group, or even just everyone who registers, so if you don't attend live, that's okay, you will get a channeled message from one of my kindred spirits. So you know, I work with a team of archangels and goddesses and ascended masters and spirit animals, all different kinds of entities come forward for me. So I will channel live in the group a message for you. You will get a recording, so if you don't attend it live, that's okay. You'll get a recording so that you can get your message. And so I'm excited to share that with you. And then, last but not least, I have jumped into the fray when it comes to providing some video services over at 1-2 Listen. So I have 2 new video services available. The first is a chakra balancing with crystals, and I will do it on video, and you will get a link to the video that is a private link, only you can watch it. But I will live on video read your energy body, balance all of your chakras. I will choose stones that are necessary for each chakra. So as I'm doing the energy work, I'm going to be using different stones. I will talk to you about those stones, what they represent and what they're good for, because they're good stones for you, so you can use them further with things. So I'm offering that over at 1-2 Listen. I'm going to put some links to those things in the chat. But of course, if you just go to 12listen.com and you search my name, Kristi Brower, over there, you will find all of the things that I'm offering. So these video readings are email readings. So you order them as an email. You get back from me an email that is a link to the video that you can then use and watch over and over again. So the second video session that I'm offering is a custom guided imagery meditation. So you guys know I do all different kinds of meditations. I do them here on the show. I offer them for free download over on my website. So this is kind of taking that one step further. And I'm going to write a custom meditation for you. So you can give me a topic. You know, say you're working on your self-esteem, or you're working on your intuition, or you want a custom meditation for you as an empath, and there's a particular issue that you're working on as an empath. I will write that to meditation for you, and then I will record it live. It will include music, and you will get a link to that video that you can watch as many times as you want to use that meditation to further whatever it is that you're working on. So I'm really, really excited about these 2 video offerings. I think you're going to see more of those things from me. The videos are, you get the link, you can use it as many times as you want. And so that's one fun thing about them, is that they can be watched over and over again, and nobody else has access to them but you and me. So there, we can do all different kinds of things with that. So I'm really looking forward to sharing both of those things with you. I have run out of time. I want to say thank you so much for all of you being here today and participating with this particular topic. You're going to find me available once you listen this afternoon. If you have more questions, if you want to work on a specific empath issue, we can do that. Of course, I'd love for you to join me in class this week. And as always, I want to say thanks for listening to 1-2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.